Hey everybody, welcome back to Darvanalee Designs Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reed and today we are here for my weekly Stitch with me. So let's get started. Everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join me for a Stitch with me. Grab a craft of your choice and sit back, relax, or just grab a cuppa and you can listen to me prattle on. There might be a little bit of music occasionally. Yeah, so we'll just get stuck into the chart that I'm working on. So I'm going to be working on, for this foreseeable future, for the Stitch with me's Snow Village. I am on a mission to get as much of this done each Monday. It hasn't really gone to plan so far, but we are getting there. I am working on Peppermint Parlour, which is the second block. I'm doing this as one piece. So if that's something that you think you would like, stick around for the video and don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it, and then that way you're not going to miss out on any future posts. But make sure you set that bell to all notifications. Alright, so as I said, we're working on Snow Village. This is where I'm up to at this point in time. I haven't actually got any more in because I think I've actually made a mistake here. So I may have to pull some of this out. So I'm just going to work down from here and down into the snow and whatnot. And I'm just going to sort of leave this till last. Now, I know that the door's right because I've double checked, but I had to pull out... so I think this has got to come down one. So I think I have to pull out this row here and then come down one. So I have to double check that, and I didn't do it before I got on camera. So I'm going to continue on. As I said, I'm going to work with some of these stripes and keep going with that. Alright, so what has been happening in the world of the reeds? Well, first of all, I'd like to apologise for last week. I had a lot of construction and whatnot happening in my neighbourhood, so it made it a little bit difficult to actually do any sort of recording with sound being picked up by the camera and the microphone. So yeah, we had tree loppers on the Monday, so I postponed it until the next day. And then I started recording, and you would have heard that I was talking, and then all of a sudden I went to music. That's because next door had a cement truck pull up, and they were doing cementing, and and two doors up were doing fencing. So there was grinding and all sorts of happening last week. So hence why there was no other videos for last week, because that pretty much went on for the next 3 days. And then we ended up with flooding rain happen on the Friday, and yeah, so not a lot happened. I also had Savannah on the Monday. We went up to the dentist, and she had to get a tooth extracted, so that did not go well for her. We had all sorts of things happening with her. She did not do well with the pain medication. She started to vomit and all that sort of stuff, which is pretty gross, I know. But anyway, she ended up having to have the tooth extracted because it was quite bad. Apparently she bumped, or she fell at school a couple of months ago, and because she's such a secret squirrel, she doesn't tell me anything, and there was no incident report from the school because she didn't tell anybody at school. But she said she had hit the side of the table. I don't know whether she fell or whether she said she stood up and banged her jaw on the side of the table from picking something up. And apparently she thought that she cracked the tooth then, but she didn't say anything to me so I could go up to the dentist and get it sorted out then and there. She's left it for months, and subsequently the tooth broke. She was eating an apple, and a piece of the tooth broke off, which left a gaping hole in her tooth, and they couldn't save it. So it basically had cracked right down the centre, and where that piece had come off, they just couldn't save it. Well, they could have done root canal, but that would have meant like 4 times over the next month or so of her going to the dentist, and she just can't afford to take the time off school because she's in her final year of school. So we dealt with that on the Monday, and subsequently she ended up having an adverse reaction. Like, she was fine while it was getting done, but when they gave her the painkiller, I was to deaden her mouth, I was watching her, and I literally watched the colour drain from her face, so I knew it wasn't going to go well. She didn't have allergic reaction to it. She just coming down from that, like once it the painkiller sort of was wearing off, she started to feel quite nauseous, and basically, she ended up that night not doing too well, and I think being hungry on top of that, not being able to eat anything because her mouth was very sore, made it 10 times worse. So we've dealt with that for a couple of days. She ended up having a week off school anyway, but I'd much rather her have this week off than in a couple of weeks time off, because her teachers sent her all her stuff that she needed to do. And Savannah being Savannah, she's always ahead with her assignments and stuff like that. So anything that needed to be turned in, she just emailed it to that teacher, and they were happy with that. So, that was her week last week. But in all of that as well, she had a pretty hectic week actually, because by Friday, Thursday night, or was it Wednesday night? No, sorry, it was Tuesday night. By Tuesday night, she was so beside herself. She had an atomic meltdown. And I've been watching her in the last probably 6 or 7 weeks, thinking, I just had a feeling like an atomic meltdown was coming. And what I call an atomic meltdown for Savannah is where she is sobbing and crying and doesn't know if she's making the right decision, like has a full-on meltdown. And she's quite an anxious person. She's socially awkward. She doesn't socialise with people. She's quite happy to go to and from work and come home and fall into her books and all that sort of stuff. And it's never really been a problem for her until probably in the last 18 months, when all her friends have started getting boyfriends and stuff like that. And she doesn't feel left out. She doesn't want to have a boyfriend. She has goals in life. She doesn't want to answer to anybody. She doesn't want to have... And we've talked about it in great length, because, I make sure that, you're not just doing this because you think that that's going to, make it better, or, it's going to get you through what you need to do. Because sometimes we need people, and sometimes we need a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or, whatever the case may be. And we often have talks about it, but she hasn't been really talking about it in the last 18 months. And so that all came to a head. She's been feeling quite... her friends have been making her feel awkward about not having a boyfriend, like there's something wrong with her. And I just said, there's nothing wrong with you. You have just made choices because you want to do this, that and the other. And basically you've made choices that you don't want to have to worry about another person's feelings because you're doing this, that or the other. And that, I feel that that's quite mature of her, because she's not dragging someone down or dragging someone along, kicking and screaming because she's going off to uni when really they want to stay in Kingaroy and stuff like that. And, and quite frankly, at this age when you've got study and all the rest of it, you don't need the added crap that comes from someone else's emotional blackmail or whatever you want to call it. Like, I know at her age 17, 18, I was in a very serious relationship. If I had my time over again, I'd be doing exactly what Savannah's doing. I wouldn't had a boyfriend. I wouldn't have, like, my circumstances were different. I was living out of home. I was with someone that I'd been with for a couple of years, and we'd moved in together. But even still, if I had my time over again, I would not do that again, not in a long shot. And I've sort of tried to guide my girls to make sure that they get to spend their teens and their early 20s, if they can help it, somewhat unattached, because at least then you get to experience without having to answer to anybody. Now, it doesn't matter who I speak to, what parent I speak to, or what kid I speak to that comes in this house. If they've got a boyfriend, they feel like they've got to run it past their boyfriend or girlfriend before they do anything. And I think at 18 and even in your early 20s, you don't need that. And I know that it's different for every person. And, like, I've got friends that have got daughters and they've got serious relationships and all the rest of it, and they're making a good go of it and they're all happy and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't always end up that way, but sometimes you do end up with someone that you feel like you've got to answer to and stuff like that. Even as grown-ups, we do still run things past, and I just don't think an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old or a 15-year-old needs that added pressure when teenage years are already sucky to begin with. You're already trying to work out your own emotions without having someone else's emotions added into that. And so she sort of had a meltdown about that. What added to the anxiety of the week is she also had to go for her P's on Wednesday, and she had a tooth out on Monday, and had spent most of Monday evening beside the toilet and most of Tuesday beside the toilet as well. So come Tuesday night, she was absolutely beside herself, and so everything come to head. She didn't know whether she was making the right decisions. She was feeling like her friends were thinking that she was weird because she didn't have a boyfriend. Like, everything came out, and I basically sat there with her for 2.5 hours and just let her cry and cry and cry and cry. And then, not once did she mention the test that she had to go to, but I knew that was what the catalyst was, because if you could have seen Savannah in grade 2 when they had the NET exams, which is an exam that they have to catch any kids that can't read properly, write properly, struggling with numeracy or anything like that. It's a very basic test, but it does, and they call it the NET test because it catches those kids in the net, so to speak, that are somewhat struggling with school. So it's in year 2, so they've only been at school for 2 years. By that stage, they should be able to read basic words. They should be able to read and write, essentially, for a year 2 level. So they have this exam, and oh my God, she was in the fetal position, and she was like 7. And I just thought, oh my God. And she was already very academic at that stage as well, and really struggled. And I basically sat her down and I just said to her, back then, it doesn't matter what happens in this test. You go in, you do the best that you can, and it doesn't matter because you can always have a do-over. And that's what I said to her, and that got her through that exam. So she's always gone into her exams with that in mind, because it doesn't matter what you do in high school. If you don't do well, you can always do it again the following year. Do that year again. You can always do that do-over. And that's what I say to her. With exams and stuff like that, it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. If you fail at something, it just wasn't meant to be at that time. So I've managed to get her through all of high school with that. And when it comes to school, she has no problems with anything like that. And she just cruises along and doesn't let anything get to her and all the rest of it. But this driving exam got to her. It actually got to her, and I knew that was what the catalyst was. So she cried. She cried some more. She doubted every decision that she's making, from going into teaching to everything, friendships, the whole lot, moving out of home. And I think it's starting to get a little bit anxious for her. What if I can't pay rent and all that? I said, don't worry about that. We will sort something out, so don't stress about it at all. Anyway, she had a really good cry. She felt a lot better for it for the next day and all the rest of it. Woke up, she had the day off. She didn't go to school. She was going to go to school because she was feeling better when she woke up. And I said, do you think that's wise? You're only going to be there till 2 o'clock anyway, because you've got your test this afternoon for your license and all the rest of it. And she goes, you know what? I'm going to just take the rest of the week. Obviously, the university, because she obviously thought about what she was talking about and what I said to her. And she goes, obviously the universe is making me slow down, because this girl works hard. She has 2 jobs. She goes to school. She does, apart from cleaning, she does everything right. She's a little bit of a sloth when it comes to that, but that's okay. You can't have everything. And so she ended up taking the rest of the week off. She ended up going for her test, and she got her P. She passed straight away. The guy that she went for an exam, like a driving test before the actual P plate test. Excuse me, I just had to have a drink then. So, but the guy, and her mouth was still quite swollen and all the rest of it. And the guy that she went with knows Brendan. through King of Toe and all the rest of it, and has a little bit of a fangirl moment when she first got into the car, because he realised who she was and who she was related to and all the rest of it. But anyway, she's got in the car. She had rung him and said, look, I've had my tooth out. I'm still going to try and go for my test, but do you think it's wise? And he said, look, just come. And he goes, I'll make a decision when you're in the car. Anyway, she went for the driving instruction before her actual P-plate test, and he said that she would be fine. Like, she did everything right and whatnot. Anyway, when he got to the registry office, he basically had a word to the guy that does the exams and and all the rest of it, and she ended up nailing her exam. He only got her to do reverse parking and all the rest of it, because it had actually started to rain really heavy during her exam as well, and she was handling everything fine. But when she got out of the car and she come inside, she had a bit of dry blood in the corner of her mouth. She thinks that maybe he just passed her because she had blood on her mouth and that she'd had her tooth out. But either way, she got her P-plates and she's been happily driving her sister around and driving herself off to work and all that sort of stuff, which has freed up more time for me to get some more stitching in. And then I've only got a couple of weeks reprieve before I'm back in the car again with Neroli. But Neroli will get her hours up pretty quickly because she has done a lot of paddock driving and stuff like that, and she's really keen to drive, but she's absolutely spewing that she can't go for her Ps for 12 months. So I'm not sure whether she's actually going to go for her Ls now or whether she's going to wait till the new year and go for her Ls. We'll just have to play that by ear. But yeah, so I've only, if she goes for, because she can go for it on her 16th and she turns 16 on the 8th of August. So I think we pay for that for them for their birthday present, and we go and get them a ring for their, we got them a ring each for their birthday. So we haven't got Neroli's yet. She's still got to pick hers out, but she's thinking about it. She's contemplating what she wants to get and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's what's been happening with Savannah. And yeah, we've got Neroli coming up for her driving. Well, she'll get her Ls and then she'll probably have me in the car all the time. I reckon by the time her 17th birthday rolls around, she'll have 300 hours under her belt. So basically what I do is I go with her. I'll go with them in the car. Brendan will do the night driving for the first couple of times because he's used to night driving, especially with the truck and whatnot. Whereas I'm not used to, I don't really do night driving because I've always had the kids and stuff like that. But I'm more than capable of it. I just don't like doing it. So we sort of tag team. He's home at night, so he will have her go down and pick, to drive home from work because we don't have to pick Savannah up now, but he'll say, hey, I've got to go here, I've got to go there. They'll drive around the neighbourhood for an hour or so and whatnot, and just do whatever he's got to do, whether that's shopping or whatever. And then, and then I take them for long haul trips. So while he's at work, we'll go over to Toowoomba, or we'll go to Brisbane, or we'll go to the Sunshine Coast or Harvey Bay or something like that, and drive in sort of different environments and whatnot. Brendan has pretty much had Neroli driving in paddocks and dirt roads since she was about 8, because she's always gone with him in the truck and stuff like that. And he's gone places where we've known them and they've said, yeah, she can go for a drive down there. So she's done a lot of that sort of driving, whereas Savannah hadn't. So there was a lot of dirt road driving with her because we had a lot of their friends live on dirt roads and stuff like that. So we have to incorporate that into their driving and whatnot. The only thing that we didn't do with Savannah was more Brisbane driving. So she's been down twice. And then they had made a plan with one another that as soon as she got a licence that they were going to go down to Brisbane for the day together and all the rest of it. And as I said, I ended up saying to Brennan, look, I'm happy for him to do it, but I just don't think that Savannah's confident enough to drive in Brisbane because, truth be told, she's not the best driver. She's okay and she's great and she is very cautious and all the rest of it, but she's at the same time, I don't feel she's just there yet for city driving. And so basically I said to Red, I said, I know that sometimes I can get overprotective and you know, want to mollycoddle them and all the rest of it. I said, but what are your thoughts on it? He goes, hell no, she is not driving in Brisbane yet. So it wasn't just me thinking that, you know, I was being silly or anything like that. He basically said the same thing. He said that no, she needs to drive by herself before we put Neroli in the car. And at the end of the day, it's more about Neroli, because Neroli is a little bit boisterous and a little bit over the top and can be quite distracting in the car. Like, she distracts me sometimes. So a new driver really doesn't need someone like that in there. So we spoke to Savannah. Excuse me. I think we spoke to her on Saturday. She said something about it. I said, look, your dad and I need to talk to you about that. And anyway, she, Neroli was at work, and then on Saturday we ended up going down to Brisbane. And was it Saturday? No, Thursday we ended up going down to Brisbane the day after she got her licence. We ended up going down and picking up her bed from IKEA. She finally found a bed that she wanted, and we need to get that for her before she moved out. So we went down and got that for her. And we spent the day with her, and she brought up driving to Brisbane again. And so we had the opportunity to talk to her without Neroli there. And we just said, look, it's nothing against you. We just want you to do some driving on your own to get used to your car by yourself without anybody in the car, because you can do that now. So, and she goes, oh yeah, I never thought of that. She goes, Neroli is a bit over the top. She's not a great passenger. I said, no, she's not. I said, so we need to talk to her and not have it fall on you. And basically that's what we did. And she was quite cool with that. And she said, yeah, no, I feel a bit more comfortable than that. She goes, because I wasn't really sure. And I said, well, if you're not sure about something, just say no to your sister. She'll huff and puff, and I'll just pull her in, and basically you just go about doing your business. So she's spending, more time. She's driving herself to and from school. She's taken her sister around town and stuff like that, and her friends and whatnot, taking them to and from work. And so we're just getting her to do that sort of stuff, and then we'll have a talk to Neroli and just say to her, look, your sister needs to do a little bit more time by herself to get used to her car, get used to someone else not looking out for her to become aware of what's happening around her and stuff like that. So hopefully that won't go down like a lead balloon, but it is Neroli, and usually does go down like a lead balloon, because, you say no to the girl and she has a bit of a tanty, because at the end of the day, she's a 15-year-old child. But yes, so that's what's been happening. All right, we also had, as I said, we had construction and all sorts of stuff happening up the road. That's all stopped, so now I can catch up on all the videos that I've got to do. Like, I had planned to do tutorials and everything last week, but I had to push it all back to this week. I've got quilting that I've got to get done as well. That's all happening in the background. I've been just crazily designing patterns for the magazine, because we've got the spring issue coming out, so we've got quite a few patterns going in there, and I'm getting used to some new editing software, and it's not editing software, sorry, it's like a graphic design software, and I can do embroidery patterns and stuff like that on there, not for a machine, like hand embroidery and stuff like that. So I'm working on that. I've been teaching myself with that, all that sort of stuff. So last week, that's pretty much what I did. Everything that I was going to do this week, I moved to last week, and everything that I was going to do last week, I'm moving to this week. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff happening. We had quite a lot of rain here over the weekend, and thank you to everybody that sent messages asking if I was high and dry, because we had flooding in Kingaroy. We have pretty much missed all of the flooding. Even back in February, when we had a lot of rain back in February, we didn't get as much in our catchment area that causes flooding in Kingaroy. Like, we had the normal water build up and all the rest of it, but where the rain was falling back in February was closer to the coast, and we were only just getting the side of it. So a lot of our floodwaters will come from out west, so out near Crawford Way, Durong Way and stuff like that. We've got a creek that runs through town that turns into a raging torrent when we get a lot of rain out that way. And so even the rain that you've seen down in New South Wales and all the rest of it, that the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast and places like that they were getting, we didn't really get that out here at Kingaroy. Like, we had rainy days and stuff like that, but it was more of a drizzle or a light rain. Wow, that all changed on last weekend. Friday, it rained. It pretty much rained Thursday, and then it was raining Friday, Thursday, like into Thursday night, and then early hours of Friday morning, the heavens just opened up. Like, I barely had any sleep. So even if I could have done a video, I probably would have fallen asleep on camera, because it was just torrential rain, and we have a tin roof, so it was loud as, like, and then it'd ease off, and then I'd doze off to sleep, and then it'd start up again, and it was just torrential and constant. And probably in about a 12-hour period, we had close to 80 millimetres of rain. Now, that might not seem like a lot compared to some of the other places around, but it's still a lot for the catchment area, and so there was a lot of flooding, so the girls weren't sure whether they were going to make it to work. Like, we're high and dry where we are. I'm on a bit of a hill, so the water, the road ends up being like a bit of a river, but it rushes all down into town down near the school. And so there is a concrete easement that goes right through the centre of, well, where the park is, Memorial Park, which you've probably seen before on my channel and whatnot, and it comes from out Crawford Way, which is about 5 k's from where I live, and it comes out from that way. And so it actually comes down through the center of the town, and there's houses that back up onto the back of it, but it's quite wide, so it holds a lot of water, and it's basically a trickle any other time, because it's a creek that's been concreted basically, and the water still runs through there, and it cuts several roads off out the back of my place. It cuts several roads off, and then it crosses over into the school, and into the primary school, and into the high school, and then across First Avenue, which is the next street down from where I live, and then it goes down River Road and whatnot, and goes to wherever it goes to. And so all those areas ended up with a lot of water in them, so it ended up going across and over the road, but only for about an hour, because it rises pretty quick, but then it drops real quick too. So as soon as the rain started to ease off after about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, in those areas, because it started to head south, the system, there was no more rain falling in that to raise the levels, where the if it had been raining out there, the levels probably would have went up a lot further. Now, I am probably about 600 metres away from that point where it cuts us off from town, but as I said, it doesn't stay around for long. But there was a lot of water around very quickly. A lot of the roads out here all have creeks going across them, all have floodways and stuff like that, and majority of them went over, but by Sunday they were all down again, because it just, as quick as the water comes, it just dissipates even quicker. Like, it goes away just as quick. So that makes it a lot easier for people that live out of town and all that sort of stuff. But I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that sent messages to me asking if I was okay and whatnot. I was okay. I was high and dry. And as far as I know, no houses were damaged in Kingaroy or anything like that. I can't attest for further downstream or anything. But, yeah, for the most part, it was just the girls were still able to go to work. Like, in the morning, we went out and had a look, and it wasn't across the bridge. While Nerali was at work, she had a 6-hour shift. It went over. But then by 2 o'clock, it was back down again, because Savannah was able to go to work at... And I was able to pick the girls up from work. Her friend stayed at our house because she couldn't get home, because where she lives there's a lot of creek crossings and they take a little bit longer to get down. So she managed to, there wasn't too much rain out her way where she was, so that in the morning the buses were still able to get through, so she was able to get to school. But by the afternoon the system had crossed over a lot of the areas where she that lead to her house, and so the water had risen and cut the roads off, so her mum wasn't able to get in and pick her up for work. So she stayed here until Sunday afternoon, and when it was safe for them to come in, which makes it easier. And a lot of time we've had a couple of Savannah's friends that have had to stay when we've had lots of rain in other areas and they've been cut off. And so it's really good that the parents know that they've got some place to go that's safe for them. They don't have to get hotels or anything like that, which is really good. So we have flood slumber parties from time to time. Excuse me. I have a very croaky voice. As you know, in winter, my voice always gets croaky. I haven't been sick, just croaky voice. What else has been going on? I've been doing a lot of planning and stuff for the channel as well. I'm in the midst of designing our next quilt along as well. Don't know whether I'm going to just do it for the Facebook group this time, whether I'll do it for the channel as well. We'll see how we go. But yeah, I've just been, like, because I wasn't able to do a lot last week as far as filming and whatnot was going. I mean, it was all over by Wednesday, but then it was raining, and come Thursday I just thought, I'll go down with them down to Brisbane, and just, yeah, because I'd moved everything and I just thought it was easier to do that. And then yeah, so I've been working on creating embroidery designs, so hand embroidery designs, and also some cross stitch as well for future magazines. So I spent a bit of time doing that. I didn't do much stitching last week because I was mostly sitting with Savannah, just making sure that she was okay, and she took over the lounge room with the sofa bed, so there was no real room for my frame or anything in there. So I didn't get a lot of cross stitch or anything done, but I did do a lot of designing and just planning out for that sort of stuff, and answering emails and all that sort of stuff for people that want to submit to the magazine their designs. And yeah, and then I started learning how to use this the software to help with the, you know, when you get an embroidery design and it's sort of, you can see that it's been like traced and scanned in. I'm trying to get away from that, and so I'm learning how to use the software that I've got, which I can do with Illustrator. And so I've not used Illustrator very much. I've used InDesign, which is what I use for the magazine, but I haven't used Illustrator or Photoshop or a lot of Adobe stuff, and I have that here. So I'm learning how to use that to help with the designing, so I get smoother lines as opposed to rustic looking lines and stuff in the embroidery design. So it's been a huge learning curve. I have dabbled in it a little bit at the beginning of the year and stuff like that, but I also want to be able to create some different types of needlework as well, so candle wicking, sashiko, hand embroidery, raised embroidery, also looking at wanting to do like heart hanger designs and stuff like that. I've got a lot of designs floating around in my head that I'd like to do, and also I think that Adobe Illustrator is going to help with that, and so that's what I've been trying to wrap my head around. And because I'm not used to the software, I'm sort of trying, like, I can go into InDesign and I know everything that I need to put the magazine together, so that's not a problem. So now as I said, I want to learn how to do the Adobe Illustrator. And so in the past, for embroidery designs, I have basically scanned the image, then turned it into a GIF, and then done a tracing, but it still turns out a little bit rustic looking, because essentially I've traced that design, and it doesn't matter how steady I go, I seem to just have this little tick in my arm that when I'm doing that sort of stuff, I get like a little jump in my arm, and so I get a little raised part of the line's not perfectly straight. It looks a little bit rustic looking. So that's what I'm trying to get away from. And so I don't have access to go and do a TAFE course or anything like that in it. So I'm teaching myself. So everything that I'm doing is self-taught, and it's a bit of a learning curve, because sometimes my brain just doesn't want to take the information in. So I've taken to doing something and, you know, watching a video on how to do things and how to use Illustrator and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it has been a huge learning curve. I've got a notebook for different things that I'm doing, that what I use for that, and what what tools I'm using in the toolbox of Illustrator. So I've taken a lot of notes and all the rest of it, because sometimes when it comes to computer work, my brain just does not want to wrap its head around it, and it's almost like I am rejecting that information. You're not putting that into my head. That's what it feels like. But excuse me. But yeah, that's sort of what I've been doing. So it's been a bit of a learning curve. I am getting the hang of it, and I'm hoping by the time I get to the end of this week or the end of next week, I will be able to have it down pat and give it a really good go and see if I can't get these lines smoother or not. So you'll have to keep an eye out for the magazine, because that's what I'm aiming for. I have actually used different software in the, like I done a little design for the last issue, and it's what is it called again? Life is the Flower. And yeah, I did. It's got little bumblebees and stuff like that. So I used a photo editing software. I didn't take a photo or anything, but you're able to do text and stuff like that. And I basically had like little bees and stuff. I was able to do that in it as well, and I used a flower from that software that I was able to incorporate into it. So yeah, I was able to do it, and it turned out okay. Like, it was really smooth, and it transferred into the magazine really well. And but I just want to take it that extra step where I can make bigger designs and stuff like that. And I think Adobe Illustrator is going to be the way to go for me. So it's been a lot of education, and I've also had to watch a few videos on just where to find things, like knowing that that's what I need, but where the hell is it? Like, secret squirrel. And it'll be because I've not clicked something, so the toolbox is not showing, or something along those lines. And I'm learning how to, and by learning this is also going to help me with future quilt designs and stuff like that as well. Well, I just needed a bit of drink. Yeah, so hopefully, as I said, I will have it for the embroidery side of things. I will have it sort of down pat by next week, maybe the week after. If I don't have it down pat by this issue, I will definitely have it down pat by the summer and Christmas issue. So the spring issue comes out on the 15th of August, and then we will, at the 15th of October, or the 30th of October? 30th of October, is it? Let me just, hang on, I need to check my notes. No, sorry, it is at the 15th of October, our Christmas edition comes out. So that is a special edition that we have, so that will come out then, and then a month after that we have the, we will have the summer issue come out. Now the smalls issues, they don't, that, like I said, that it was the 15th of October, but sometimes they might come out a little bit earlier or a little bit later. They don't have a definitive time. They are just a special edition. But I do like to have them at least a month before the regular edition comes out, or even maybe 6 weeks. So the one that we just had, which was the Biscornu and Smalls issue, that one came out around about 6 weeks. I think it was maybe 5 weeks before the spring issue comes out. So I like to have at least a bit of a gap through that, and it was quite positive. We got a lot of people that were interested in it, and have subsequently have purchased it. So it had a good flow of new customers as well, so that enticed a few people to purchase for the first time, and so that was quite nice as well to see that, you know, we've done something great and they liked it. And yeah, and we're looking forward to putting the next one together, which will be around the 30th of June next year for the Biscornu and Smalls. We're hoping to have that every year, and eventually we're looking to have other special issues that come out that just focus on one style of, you know, we had Biscornu and Smalls, so they were mostly, they were all cross stitch. I think we had the one embroidery in there, and yeah, so we're hoping that we can build a little bit more on that, sort of have different genres of needleworks as we go forward. So every issue that comes out, we're growing in leaps and bounds. We have our new international section where we have 1 or 2 international designers. We still primarily focus on having Australian designers in there. As I said, I'm designing more to go in there. We're building to like, we're also looking at putting in like what do you call it, like a library, so to speak. So each issue will have something different. So like for instance, a text library, so you can keep all those and you've got the different texts, so the way they're done. So you might have black stitch, you might have primitive style lettering, and just different letterings that we're wanting to put into the magazine, and so you can keep that as a reference library. That's the word I was looking for, a reference library. So that's what we're doing. And if we don't put it into each magazine, we may end up doing like a special edition of the reference ones. So, and we can update them every year or so. But yeah, we're already into our second year of production, which is great. And we're come summer, which is only 2 issues, well, the spring we've got coming out, so we've only got another 2 issues after that, and then we're into our 3rd year of publishing it. And like, it's gone so quickly, and we've got some regulars that are in every issue now, which is great. And that's what I'm hoping for, to have people that are regularly in and you get used to their designs and stuff like that, so you look forward to them, and hopefully you're going over to their websites and seeing what else they've got on offer, because it's only a small sample of their work. Some of them only have Etsy stores, others actually have physical websites, and some of them you can only get their designs on Instagram. So it's a great way of finding independent designers that you otherwise might not get to see. And hopefully we get to, we're working every issue, we're working for to build on our designers and all that sort of stuff. We are getting a lot of interest from overseas designers, a few from Europe and whatnot, and we're just trying to find the right balance and for them and help them get into magazines and stuff like that. So we're hoping for all of that to build as well, and hopefully it will turn into something like it already is something really good, and I'm proud of it. But I'd like to be still here in 10 years time, but with a bigger selection of designers and whatnot. I know there's a few Aussie designers that I haven't yet approached. I'm hoping that I can do that soon. I've just had a lot of other stuff going on. I think once everything settles down after, I'm looking more towards 2023 at this point, before I move any further on that sort of stuff, because at this point in time I just need to be emotionally available for Savannah going through her year 12 exams and moving out and all the rest of it. And I think once we've got her settled into uni and all that sort of stuff, things will settle down somewhat, because this year has felt quite erratic for us here as a family, because there is going to be that big change. And I think Neroli is struggling with the fact that her sister's going to be going, because she's threatened a couple of times that she's moving out with her sister as well. So I could be, by the end of the year, an empty nester altogether. I've spoken to Brendan at great lengths, and he's quite adamant that she's not moving out until she's 18 as well. She's just not ready yet. She thinks she's ready, but she's not. So we're going to fight her a little bit on that one. But so I think that for expansion and all that sort of stuff for the magazine, a lot of that will probably happen in 2023. And in saying that, we're 6 days off August, and so we've only essentially got 4 months left of this year. Like, I cannot even fathom where this year has gone. It has just flown by in a blink of an eye. So before I know it, I'm going to be planning for 2023. I'm going to be taking submissions for the autumn issue and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully the plans that I'm doing now, the notes that I'm taking, the goals that I'm setting, I can bring that all to fruition next year, and we are going to have something amazing happening in the cross-stitch community here in Australia with the Cross-Stitch Magazine and Needlework Magazine. So, and that's another thing I want to do as well, is expand my needlework designers, so making that a larger pool to dig from. And that's another reason why I'm learning all of these different things and how to design them and stuff like that, so at least I can start introducing them in to the magazine, because it is Down the Rabbit Hole magazine, cross Stitch and Needlework magazine. So I want to bring in a lot more different designs and stuff like that, and some of it I can't do, like, so I need to bring in other designers and stuff like that, and I can't do it all. I only have a limited time that I can stitch and all that sort of stuff. So for me, I might design a lot of stuff between the magazines. So say from the winter to the spring, I might design a lot of stuff, but I might only get 1 or 2 of that stuff that I've designed for the spring. Let's say, between winter and spring, I'm looking at doing Halloween stuff, Christmas stuff, spring and summer. Okay, so between winter and the spring issue, I'm mainly focusing on what's going to go into the spring issue. So I will try and design as much as I can for that, maybe with a couple of Christmas ones, maybe with a couple of, well, there definitely will be Halloween ones in that one, and maybe a couple of summer ones. But the summer one is the furthest from my mind, because that's the furthest magazine. So what I might do is on a Friday, I generally do computer work. So if I get all my computer work done, say by lunchtime, I'll spend the afternoon focusing on designs, and any hour here or there that I've got free during my workday, which my workday is 9:30 to 3 o'clock, where I am focusing on quilting, designing, video making, all that sort of stuff, editing, all that sort of stuff that I have to do to keep everything moving forward. So basically what I'll do, if I finish at 1 o'clock, I'll do 2 hours till 3 of designing, and I might do that 3 or 4 times a week, so I can get a lot of stuff done. And at night, if I'm sitting there waiting for Brendan to come home because we're watching a TV show together, which we're watching Breaking Bad at the moment, I will sketch out designs and ideas and stuff like that. So while I'm waiting for dinner to cook, I might have a few ideas pop into my mind, so I will jot them down in my notes, and then I'll come back to them in the next working day. So basically that's what I've been trying to do. And so, but I can only stitch so much because, as you know, it takes time to stitch. Hand embroidery, just for your general back stitch, chain stitch, satin stitch and all that sort of stuff, that can be relatively quick, but I don't have a lot of those designs at the moment. So that's what I'm looking at, expanding my repertoire for those designs, but I don't want them to look rustic. I don't want them to look traced, and that's why I'm learning how to use the Adobe Illustrator. And that makes me proud at the end when I get to a design and it's come out how I want it and it looks really good and it doesn't look like it's hand drawn or anything like that. That's going to make me feel proud, because I've learnt all this by myself with the help of YouTube and Skillshare and any other video that might pop up that I can see, because as I said, I don't have access to TAFE. I can't drive 2 hours or 3 hours to the closest TAFE that might have it, and then drive 3 hours back. I mean, we have a TAFE here, but they don't, as far as I'm aware, they don't have that on there. They don't have web design or anything at this particular TAFE. It's more agricultural, welding, plumbing, all that sort of stuff. It's more like an apprenticeship style one. So yeah. And from time to time, they do have other courses. I just keep an eye out for it. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing a web design or graphic design course if my brain will allow me to do it. But yeah. But that's sort of where I'm heading with that sort of stuff, and that's why I want to build the designers in the different genres of needlework, build them up so we've got something different for everybody. And so that's sort of where we're heading with that. So getting super excited for the spring issue to come out, and then we'll be on to the Christmas one, which will be full of ornaments and different styles of I'm sure of different takes on Christmas, because we're in the southern hemisphere and we are quite hot at Christmas, and so people in the northern hemisphere, they have your traditional looking ones. I personally like the traditional, with snowflakes and all that sort of stuff for Christmas decorations. I'm not one of those die-hard Aussies that, you know, we're in the Southern Hemisphere, we should have designs that reflect the Southern Hemisphere. I love the fact that we can have designs, but for me, when I decorate my house, it's very much, you know, Northern Hemisphere inspired. So we've got snowflakes and all that sort of stuff. So for me, it's easy for me to design that sort of stuff as opposed to... but I, at the same time, I'm also expanding my repertoire into the more Southern Hemisphere based designs as well. So, but I've always just like, I've never seen snow. That's probably why I'm obsessed with it. But, you know, I'm 52 years old next month and I've never seen snow. I've seen it on TV, but I've never actually physically touched snow in my life. I've been in places where it has snowed before, but I wasn't there when it snowed. So yeah, but that's why I like this snow village and all that sort of stuff. Like, I'm very much drawn to those Northern Hemisphere designs and whatnot. So if I'm designing anything for Christmas, it's going to be around that. But I have got a couple of ones up my sleeve that I might incorporate. I don't know yet. I'm still working on them. All right, so that is pretty much what's happening there. What else has been going on? Oh, I've been doing a little bit of planning for videos and whatnot for tutorials and everything for the channel. A few people have asked me if I'm not doing them anymore. I am. I just have I've sort of run out of ideas. So it's not that I'll rephrase that. I haven't run out of ideas. I just haven't had the inspiration strike me. So I've been working on the row by row and just doing that, and that's been going to unlisted the videos, and I've just been doing the occasional tutorial. Now I do want to pick that up, and I have been sitting down and sort of just hashing ideas out and starting to design some quilts and stuff like that for the channel as well. I'm looking at doing I was doing the ABC challenge there at the beginning of the year just to get people started on that. I'm thinking that I'm going to come back to that and do a couple more blocks in that to give some inspiration for people in different size blocks and whatnot. And I'm also started to do some designing and all that sort of stuff as well. So that's all happening in the background. A lot of stuff is happening in the background at the moment. And as I said, I'm pretty much now looking to 2023. So I will still do my I will definitely be doing my Stitchmas, and I will definitely be doing my Spooktober cross stitch challenge that I do every year, stitch along rather. So I'm just going to pull out all of my Halloween stuff for October, and I'm just going to do videos for that throughout the month, and I'll probably do a daily video on that. And in December as well, I will be doing my Stitchmas, so I'll do the 24 days leading up to Christmas, and again we'll probably have some sort of advent calendar opening as well. I'm hoping to get the book one again, and I will do that here on like I did last year. If I get that, I will have that as my opening for Stitchmas. So October and December are pretty much only work up until the 24th. So I'm hoping that I will have all that sorted and whatnot leading up to that, and I will be working on Holiday Quaker, I think it's called, or Christmas Quaker, Holiday Quaker. I don't know. Remember how I worked on Halloween Quaker? It's the Christmas one from the same designer, and I can't remember the designer off the top of my head. So that will come out again, and I will work on that every day. And again, I will probably do those as daily videos as well. And so December is pretty much taken care of. And I'll do, basically what I'll do is I will do the opening towards the end of last Stitchmas. What I did was, excuse me, I opened up the advent calendars with the camera overhead so you could see exactly what I was getting, and then I'd move the camera off to the cross-stitching or the tutorial and stuff like that. So I'll probably mix that up again, where I will have... like last time, I think I did a Stitch with me on the Monday Tuesday and Thursday, and then I did a tutorial on the Wednesday and Flosstube on the Friday, and then I did the Stitch With Me on the Saturday and Sunday as well. So I think what I'm going to do this time is I'm still going to have my Flossmas, where I have majority of the videos will be Flosstube and Stitch With Me's, but I'm going to add in the tutorials again, and I'll probably on the weekends do a little bit of diamond painting as well, and just add them into it somehow. And so that way we will get videos for 24 videos. If I do extra tutorials or anything like that, obviously they will go up as well. And so November, like leading up to November, I'm hoping to have all those tutorials sort of worked out, prepped and ready to go. So it's just basically pick them up, film them, and off we go. So there'll be some quilt blocks. There'll probably be a table runner. I don't know. I've got a lot of ideas down on paper at the moment, and a lot of stuff is floating around in my head of what I want to do. I want to do a lot of stuff, and I've just got to prioritize it and work out when I'm going to do it and stuff like that. So as for quilting and stuff like that, I'm still plodding along with that, and we've made a decision on the shop aspect of it. I'm basically just going to be on my website. I will still have my homemade stuff, and so my handmade side of my business will still be going. Once my stock is gone, I'm not continuing on with the shop. I'm just going to pull back from that, and I'm just going to be, and I've spoken to Brendan about me doing YouTube as a full-time thing, and the quilting will stay as it is. So I will still be doing quilts for people, because I can do that at any time. So I'll still be doing quilting for people. I'll still be doing binding for people. I will still be doing anything that's related to the quilting. I will be stepping up my my sewing side of things, so my handmade stuff. And I will be also in 2023 looking to expand how many tutorials go up and everything. So as some of you know, I do a lot of different sewing except for clothing. So you probably won't see much in the way of clothing happening on my channel. You may get the odd one or two things that pop up because I've made something, so I'll go through how I've made it. But as far as tutorials go, they are a long way off. So I will be going back to my grassroots. So I will be focusing on quilting, home decor and bag making. So I'm at the present time in the process of creating a couple of bags exclusively for the channel. So they will be done sort of how I did the retreat bag, where I'll break them up into several videos. And so that's what I'm focusing on at the moment. And also looking at doing like different home decor stuff and useful things, like table toppers, placemats, and I know I've done a lot of this stuff, but stuff that we can use in our day-to-day life, and even storage solutions and stuff like that I'm looking at doing. And then of course just general quilting, not so much quilting on the long arm machine, but patchwork videos. I'll use the correct terminology. So patchwork videos. So that could be anything that we can turn our patchwork in. So that when I say patchwork, that can also include, English paper piecing, foundation paper piecing, different techniques and stuff like that. I'm also going to be getting back to my diamond painting as well, and just doing some, whip and chats with that sort of stuff as well. So I'm hoping to have a Stitch with me each week and a whip and chat with the diamond painting as well, and may even go back to doing the card reading and stuff like that, because a few people really did enjoy that. That takes a little bit more planning and whatnot. So I'm hoping that I can get all that, everything that I want done in 2023. So yeah, so that is what has been happening in the background. That's why I have been so quiet as well, because I just haven't, I've had the inspiration there and I've had the planning drive there, but I haven't had the execution drive there. And I think that is because I'm still in that I want to get my planning down. So as I said, I spoke to Brendan, and we talked about it, me doing like stepping it up a notch, and hence why I have that second channel as well, for Dusty Book Sniffers. So, because I do that as well. So I listen to books and I read books, and yeah, so I do all the things with the books. And so I thought starting a second channel is a good way to break this channel up a bit. So that's what I've done. And I've also been, reading quite a lot lately as well, and that's taken a lot of my time. I'm happy to say that I've actually I've actually gone over 100 books. I've actually now I have read 101 books as of today, and I've got a couple more that are going to probably finish up in the next couple of weeks as well. I think I've got 6 more books that I've got on my list to read. A couple of them won't finish until into next month because they're big chunks to books. So we've still got Middlemarch happening. I've pretty much stopped reading that one because I got caught up in other ones, but I'm looking to read a bit more of that over the weekend, and I've got a couple of shorter books to read as well. And I think the form of the Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Adzeki is on my to read list, and which I am starting today. And I've also got The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is a reread that I've got to do. So by the end of the month, I should be up to about 105 books for the year, and we're only I've still got 4 months of the year to go. So my goal was to read 110, which was 10 more than last year. Am I going to be reading as many books next year? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next year. Basically, I will keep reading books at the end of each day, and what I get finished each week, I get finished. Am I going to be stepping right out of my comfort zone and trying to read as many books as I've read this year? I don't think so. I think I will probably bring it down. I mean, in the last 2 years alone, I don't know what I'm going to get to by the end of the year, but between last year and what I've read this year, I'm already at 212 books in that time. Leading up to Christmas, I always slow down on my reading because, you've got Christmas shopping and all that sort of hoo-ha going on. And there's, lots of things going on, so you don't tend to find as much time to read as many books. I'm really enjoying some of these epic fantasies that I'm reading at the moment, and I'm not going to go into too much detail of them because if you really want to know what I'm reading and what I've got coming up and all the rest of it, please go over to Dusty Book Sniffers and subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell icon and to all notifications, and then that way you're not going to miss out on any future posts. So over there on a Monday, I have a video go up, which is usually my weekly wrap up, and then on a Friday we also have a video going up, which can be from anything. It could be something about my reading journal, it may be the Read Around the World challenge that I've got going, it might be a monthly wrap up, so that will be where I talk about the books that I've read, my favourite books for the month, what I enjoyed about those books, even though I've already spoken about them, but I sort of do my top pick for the month. And then I also talk about the stats, so how many books I read, how many pages, and then we talk about my star rating, what my average star rating was, and I don't always do that because sometimes I forget to do it, but that's usually just a quick short video, probably a 10-minute video where I just talk about my favourite books, why I found them to be my favourite, what appealed to me and stuff like that. Most of that has already been gone over, but it just sort of wraps the month up and looks at the overall picture, not just the individual books. So, and then I'll have, like a TBR, which is a to be read. So that'll be where coming up this week or the following week, it'll be the closest. Sometimes it'll go up on a Wednesday because it'll be the closest day to the end of the month. So if it's say, for instance, last month, when we finished the month of May, the 1st of June was a Friday, so I could easily put it up for a Friday. But this month ends on, when does it end? June ends on a Sunday, so my TBR video will go up this Friday. But I've also got a couple of other videos that I might do. So sometimes I'll have a video go up on a Wednesday. But yeah, so just if you go over and you subscribe to the channel and you tick all notifications, basically the little bell icon to all notifications, that just means what will happen is that whenever I put a video up over there, you'll get a notification that I've put a video up, and yeah, you can see what it is. And yeah, so any sort of bookish content other than weekly wrap-ups will go up every Friday. But if I've got extra videos for that week, which is generally the extra videos are maybe read-alongs that I'm doing, individual books that I'm reviewing, any reread that I've done, because I can go into more depth and have more understanding, because it's inevitable that you miss something with the first time around. And if I've really liked a book and it's a 5-star, generally they will end up being a reread at some stage down the track. Yeah, and so the TBRs happen, and anything else that comes to mind that's bookish content, any tag videos, they generally, if I get tagged in a video, not something that I've really started doing at this point, because a lot of the tags, I haven't been doing BookTube long enough to really wrap my head around the tags. Like, I know what the tags are, but I might not. Like, I was tagged for a classic, the Penguin Classics and stuff like that. Now, I didn't really have many books to talk about because I haven't read too many classics. So that is a big part of my channel at the moment, is the Read Around the World Challenge, which are books that have been translated into English from other countries. And we've got 192 countries that we're visiting, including Australia, New Zealand, and English-speaking ones. So England, America, Canada, anywhere that's English speaking, they are included in it as well. But all the non-English speaking, so they have been translated into English because I can't read any other language. Those ones are definitely coming up onto the channel as well. And then I've got the classics that I'm trying to read more of. So at the moment, I am making my way through the Charles Dickens catalogue. I've also been reading some George Eliot as well, and I also have just recently read Frankenstein. All those books will be discussed over on the channel at some stage, and they will go up, and they will either be together, as if I've read them in 1 month, I might do them as a video. So for instance, this month I read George Eliot's Silas Marner and Frankenstein by Shelley Mary. So those two I will talk about as a video, because they were a group read with a particular booktuber. And then I've also got Pickwick Papers, which I was reading that, and we've also got some modern classics as well. So Gone with the Wind is classified as a modern classic, and so I'll talk about that in an individual one as well. So if that's something that you like, come over and subscribe to the channel. I'd love for everybody to come over and subscribe to the channel and watch a couple of videos and help me get to 1,000 subscribers. I've just clicked over 140 subscribers. I think I'm at 146 now. But yeah, if everybody could come over and subscribe, that would be great. I know that not everybody's going to, but if you've seen any of my Stitch With Me's in the past where I've been talking about books and whatnot, you will know that I do go into not a huge amount of detail, and I don't give spoilers. And I've had quite a number of people that have taken me up on my recommendations for my 5-star reads, and they've thoroughly enjoyed them, and in some cases have actually missed their train stops because they've been so engrossed in the books that I've recommended. And you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, so basically, yeah, come over, click the subscribe to all notifications, and check out some of the videos I've already had over there. And I am just a bit of a talking head, but sometimes my videos are done in, like, if I've got a lot of books that I'm reading, I don't wait until the end of the week. I'll actually give you my thoughts on the book as soon as I've finished the book. And yeah, so you get to see me in all various locations through my house, and sometimes with some bed hair, and sometimes in my bed I'll be just finish a book and I'll have a bit of a talk about it, and yeah, and give you my thoughts on it and whatnot. Because I think if I think about them too much, I don't think they're a genuine sort of read, if that makes any sense. But hey, come over, subscribe, see what the channel's all about, and yeah, and then that way you will get to see what that channel's all about and what I'm reading as well, because it's one of my hobbies. Alright everybody, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below, and if you're new here and you've made it this far, please hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it to all notifications, and then that way you're not going to miss out on any of my future posts. As always, leave me a comment down below, leave me a snowflake if you've made it this far as well, and I will see you all again next week for another Stitch with me. Bye for now.